Hello and welcome everyone to slow motion broadcasting coverage of Cross Touring Cup. We are here at Spa tonight. My name is Adam Thompson and I'm joined by Alex Anderson. I'm feeling a little bit under the weather tonight, so I'm going to turn Alex loose and let him be the lead tonight. So Alex, welcome in, and you ready for tonight?
Yeah, I think we're definitely going to see an interesting race here tonight. With Spa, it's a pretty long racetrack, a lot of elevation changes, and in fact, let's give you a bit of information about this circuit right now. The Circuit de Spa, let's try that one more time. The Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, frequently referred to as Spa, is a 7-kilometer or 4.352 mile motor racing circuit located in Stavelot, Belgium. It is the current venue of the Formula One Belgian Grand Prix, hosting its first Grand Prix in 1925, and has held a Grand Prix every year since 1985 except 2003 and 2006. Spa also hosts several other international events like the 24 Hours of Spa, the World Endurance Championship, 6 Hours of Spa-Francorchamps, and the TCR Spa 500. It is also home to the Uniroyal Fun Cup 25 Hours of Spa, one of the longest motor races in the world. The circuit has undergone several redesigns through its history, most extensively in 1979 when the track was modified and shortened from a 14.1 kilometer or an 8.761 mile circuit using public roads to a 6.9 kilometer or a 4.3 permanent circuit due to safety concerns with the old circuit. Despite its name, the circuit is not in Spa but lies in the vicinity of the town of Francorchamps within the boundaries of the municipality, I think I said that correctly, of Stavelot, with a part in the boundaries of Malmedy. With that being said, we are currently looking at the championship standings for the GT3 class of the Cross Touring Cup. Bobby Ross currently leads the points with 124, trailing about 50 points behind is Kerry Cantera. Paul Mikolajczyk currently in P3 with 71 points, but Josh Clogg 1 point behind in P4. J Cam currently 5th, Tyler Coates 6th, Jaden Darling 7th, Eric Whitner in 8th, Jimmy Howat in 9th, and Darian Lozano in 10th with 18 points. And here are your TCR standings so far. Robert Schrenkler currently leads the points with 47, Chad Seep currently P2 with 46, Eduardo Pecorini not far behind, 2 points behind, with a total of 44 rounding out the top 3. James Keir sits tied with Kevin Irwin for P4 with 35 points each, and Brennan Horan and Jerry DiPiero are tied for 6th with 34 points, I believe that was. With that being said, we are currently in qualifying for today's events. If you look at the bottom of your screen, you see that Eduardo Pecorini had started a lap, and we are currently looking at Eduardo driving his Hyundai out of the first corner and down this long downhill straight, leading them into Erosion Radion. And speaking of those two corners, how do you think they're going to affect our drivers on the first lap of today's event, Adam?
Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to it, to say the least. It's going to be interesting to see how these two different classes of cars get through this Erosion Radion, however you want to say it, differently. I know that it's probably going to be a little bit easier for the TCRs to go through there, but my main worry, Alex, is if a TCR and a GT3 come together in that section of the track where it is basically flat out, and that is, I know for an open wheel car it's flat out, but I know these GT3s, as you're going to start seeing these times go up, they're about 14 seconds or so excuse me, quicker in the GT3 class than they are in the TCRs.
Yeah, and that is also going to mean that there will be a lot of gaps formed between these two classes during this race. And as Eric Whitner sets the first complete lap with a 2:20.302, Bobby Ross quickly beats that with a 2:18. And Eduardo Pecorini is still coming around to try and complete his first lap. Bobby Ross barely gets all 4 tires off the racing surface there, down into Erosion Radion, as we were saying. And going back to what you were talking about, Adam, if two cars were to collide there, one gets sideways, they have nowhere to go except the wall. You do not get a lot of runoff area. It isn't very generous if you spin up through Erosion Radion. So it's definitely going to be really interesting to see what these guys do as they go into those two corners. Is somebody going to take advantage of someone being more cautious and fly through their makeup spots? Or is everybody going to play it safe and try and keep their car clean during this race?
Well, I mean, I don't know. Gaining spots through Erosion Radion may not be the best idea that I've ever heard in my life, but it's definitely possible. I would think that, these drivers as skilled as what we have on the grid today would be able to do it, but my thought would be to play it safe because you've got Kimmel Straight, which is, man, it seems like it's miles long, where you can catch some drafts. And I did see during practice, we had Jaden Darling running down Kimmel Straight behind Chad Seep and pushing him along. So we may see a little bit of teamwork come into play in different classes. And let's be honest, I think that's the only way anybody's going to be beating Eduardo Pecorini today in the TCR class.
Yeah, Pecorini, we've seen from races in the past, one of the, if not the fastest driver, maybe even just overall in these TCR cars. He is absolutely insane in these cars at just about anywhere. So, and like you were mentioning, with teamwork coming through down the Kimmel Straight, that's after Erosion Radion. These guys are going to be single file going through there. And if a teammate comes up along another teammate, say Jerry DiPiero and Robert Schwenkler, they're battling for just any spot on the grid that they can get, and they're fighting with each other, and say one of their teammates comes up behind them, you gotta think, if that car that just came up on Jerry DiPiero and Robert Schwenkler while they're battling, if they're teammates of one of those two guys, and the GT3 car isn't going to lose any spots because of it, do you think that we might see any teammates in different classes pushing each other down the Kimmel Straight to make up time?
Yeah, I do actually. As I mentioned, I did see it in practice, so we'll have to see how it goes in the race. It just depends on how much time you're going to lose, right? I mean, these GT3s will lose a massive amount of time if they're trying to push their TCR friends down Kimmel Straight. But at the same time, if you're in a GT3 and you're not in a position where you're going to be gaining any positions or something like that, I think it would be possible. And I mean, at that point, it's only going to help these TCR cars. Especially if gaps do start to form. This track is so big, you've got to stay close. Everyone's going to have to try to stay close. As Kerry Cantera just runs the fastest lap, I'm on board here with Josh Clogg because he was the fastest in practice that we saw with Bobby Ross right behind him. But anyways, if you've got nothing to lose in the GT3s, then why not?
Yeah, definitely, and I honestly think it would be quite entertaining to just see that. Just see two teammates trying to work together by pushing a TCR down that Kimmel Straight. I just think that would be really cool to see, just two people helping each other out. But we're gonna see if we can go on a bit of an onboard lap with Josh Clogg. I will walk you guys through it. As you come down the main straight here, it's kind of short straight, compared to all the other ones. Not really much you can do here, but breaking into La Source, turn number 1, pretty sharp hairpin. Gonna have to be careful if you're going side by side with people through there. Down through turn 2, it's just pretty much a high speed kink, but counts as a turn. Then through 3 and 4, Oroge and Radion. 3, 4, and 5 through here. Then you're going to come down the Kimmel Straight. This high-speed kink, classified as turn 6, and just this straightaway, the Kimmel Straight, feels like it just stretches on for miles and miles and miles. But You're going to come down here, you're going to brake into turn 7 and through 8, Lacombs, as they are notably named. Then through turn 9, nicknamed Malmedy. Then a bit of another short shoot straight down into turn number 10, a bit of a 180-degree hairpin with a decent bit of elevation change, nicknamed Ravage. Accelerating off that. Got to be mindful of the understeer there as you come into turn 11. No name for this one. I believe it actually is just called No Name Corner. Down another short straight and into two corners that are counted as just turn 12. Nicknamed Poon. I believe that's how you say it. I'm not quite sure.
I love calling it Poo-on. That's my favorite corner on the track just for that.
And then down through turns 13 and 14. I believe this is... I apologize for any corner name pronunciation issues, but I believe those two were Fanes. It's probably completely incorrect. But down through turn 15, another no-name corner. Bit of a short shoot at the... I believe that's the lowest part of the racetrack, even though it has about 1,300 degrees of elevation change. And down through 16, stave lot. Just missed that one, barely. Through turn 17, a high-speed kink. And then into Blancamont. Another high-speed kink, full throttle, I believe, for both classes here, as we see Josh Claw go through their full throttle in the GT3 class. Down into the final two corners, nicknamed the bus stop, turns 19 and 20.
He's running
and back
green.
down the main straight to complete your lap. Looked like he almost went off track there. Not sure if that lap's going to count.
He ran some green sectors there, and it was enough.
Yeah, that moves him up into first place 2/10 faster than Kerry Cantera with a 2:18.499. Fantastic lap from Josh Clogg as we take a look at Kerry Cantera.
Yeah, we can see Kerry here, and he is coming through that Ravage section that you were talking about earlier. One of the easiest corners on the track, I think, but it's also one of the easiest to get wrong because it just seems like it goes forever and ever, and then through No Name, as you mentioned, that one is extremely tough. And then through my favorite corner on the track, known as Poo-on, or Poo-in, or whatever, however you pronounce it. We're Americans here, guys. I don't know how to pronounce half of these names. And then through Fagnes or something along that nature. This one's also pretty tough here, Alex. I think this might catch some people out, because if you get that wrong, you set yourself up for failure for the next two corners, really.
Yeah, if you just... After Poo-on, we go into those two corners, turns 13, 14, and 15, back to back to back. If you mess up turn 13, you're going to get a terrible line through turn 14, and unless you can get it all the way to the left side of the track to get a nice run through 15, you're going to have just messed up three corners, and you're going to probably have lost multiple seconds to the cars in front of you. Or if you're the leader, you're going to have somebody riding your back bumper after that.
Speaking of
Kerry
leading,
Cantera keeps it under control nicely through the bus stop.
Look at his split times. He is flying.
Straight. Definitely doing a great job on that lap, and that's going to put him fast as he takes it right back from Josh Klaga, 2:18.114. Fantastic lap from Kerry Cantera there.
Yeah, that was unbelievable. 0.3 of a second in front of Josh Clogg. So really good. And we're kind of following along here with Jaden Darling. He did have a green section, and then the rest were yellow. We'll see what he does to get across the line here. Looks like he's probably going to hold himself there in the 6th position with a 2:19.924, but it was the quickest. Got about 30 seconds here before we go into the results and get underway.
Yeah, and I really think that this is going to be a great race. Spa, it's a very long track. It's very easy for cars to get spread out here, but if you think about it, it's also very easy for them to stick together here. Even with long sweeping corners, you definitely have some incredibly long straights, like we were talking about the Camel straight, and even just shorter straights like that front one. Even with straights being that short, you can still definitely get a slipstream, and with that, and with how close we've seen the times be, I think that these straights will make up for the gaps that are made in the technical sections of the track. But let's take a look at the starting grid for tonight's race. Kerry Cantera starts on pole, a 2:18.114 for the SOG Racing Team. Fantastic lap from him. Josh Clogg almost 4 tenths behind in the fiercely forward Porsche. Bobby Ross starts P3 in the Risa Racing Mercedes. Jake Ham starts P4 in the Indy Auto Sports. I believe that is a BMW. I probably am incorrect on that one. But Eric Whitner for the JRB Motorsports Ferrari starts P5. Jaden Darling starts P6. Paul Mikolajczyk starts 7th. Jimmy Howitt P8. And Tyler Coates P9. And for the TCR class, Eduardo Pecorini, no surprise there, sets the fastest lap in his Hyundai. He with a 2:33.475. Robert Schwenkler almost a second behind in his dangerous Hyundai. And Jerry DiPiero, P3 for the TCR class. That should be 12th overall. Yes, that would be 12th overall. Chad Seep for SOG Racing starts P4, P13 overall. And then James Keir, 14th overall, and Kevin Irwin, 15th overall, as we are set to go racing here.
We are, and whoa!
And I took so long that the green flag is out and we're underway. So Josh Clogg with a fantastic start. Gary Cantera can't quite match it, but Bobby Ross trying to go around him. They're almost 3 wide in the back for the GT3 class. Still side by side out of that corner. They're 3 wide back there. Almost as Eduardo Pecorini starts to pull away. But for the TCRs, we see Jerry DiPiero and Chad Seep battling there. So we're currently looking at Paul Mikolajczyk in P6 after that start. Back up towards the front, though, Kerry Cantera, 7 tenths back. And like we were talking about with the slipstream down this Camel Straight, you can just see that interval shortening between those top 2 cars.
We do have battles going on here as well back in the pack. We're going to have to get back on board here with the guys up front. But right now it looks like everybody's kind of figured their way out going into Lake Home. So we'll go back up here to the front. Looking like the intervals are all kind of making their way. They're doing okay at this moment. But take a look at Bobby Ross there. He's got some work to do if he wants to keep his string of wins.
Yeah, just 7 tenths back from Kerry Cantera. Just gets it under 7 tenths there. But that should put him around a 2nd overall back from your leader, Josh Clogg. And like you said, Adam, with his consecutive streak of wins, you got to think that he's going to be really wanting to defend that. But if he wants to get a shot at it, he's going to have to really put the pedal to the metal and try and pass these 2 cars in front of him, which is not going to be easy if he doesn't make these moves early. But another car we haven't talked about, Jake Ham in his Lamborghini. He has done a great job keeping up with these guys throughout the first lap. Currently 6 tenths behind Bobby Ross, still in draft range of those cars in front of him. So if he can keep the nose of that car clean and just run some consistent laps, he'll have kept up with the leaders throughout the first quarter of this race.
You know, Jake, we've been watching, and he's definitely been getting better and better as he goes on. And look at under braking, how much more confident he is under braking as he almost gets close enough to make a move on Bobby through the bus stop. So you can definitely see right there that Jake Ham is not going to hang back and let these guys run away. And if he just keeps putting enough pressure there on Bobby Ross, that's going to hurt his chances. As Bobby goes wide, Jake gets a much better exit. They're going to come up through Eau Rouge and then through Radion and down the Kimmel Straight. We're going to stay on these guys here for just a little longer, and then we'll go back here to the TCRs. As you can see, kind of a battle back there between Chad Seep and Jerry DiPiero for 2nd and 3rd overall.
Right about that, but if you look up towards the lead overall between Josh Clogg and Kerry Cantera, Kerry has set a phenomenal first lap time. He's gotten close enough to the point where he can almost swing out wide and make a move. Sits in line for now, but still only 3 tenths back from that leading Porsche. He's definitely close enough to make a move if he can just stay with him for some of these short straightaways or entering any sharp corners. But Bobby Ross has also caught up to the back bumper of Cantera. He's there to try and make a move on the number 333 car. But let's take a look down at the TCR class for a second. We currently look at the battle for 3rd there. Eduardo Pecorini still leads. Jerry DiPiero 2.5 seconds behind him. And behind him, Chad Seep, currently a second behind Jerry DiPiero, doing a great job keeping up with him. If he can just manage that gap, he might be able to make a shot. But Robert Schwenkler, 4.5 seconds behind them, currently P4 for that class. James Keir, 14th overall, P5 in that class. And Kevin Irwin, currently 15th overall, 6th in his class, just about a second behind James Keir. And it looks like you see James Keir might have gone off track a little. He's coming down, breaking into the bus stop under the Bridgestone sign. Looks like just maybe outbrakes himself. Then just takes a while to get it fired back up again. Robert Schwenkler takes advantage of that, gets a nice exit, and is able to keep up with him down this front straight. Looks like he makes a move around the outside. They're too wide going into turn 1. And James Keir relents the position to Schwenkler.
Yep, that was on the overlay there. It said that Mr. Keir has crashed, and we have something else we're going to look at. Looks like Bobby Ross had been an off track. Let's see what that has done for his hopes as Jake Ham has found a way around Bobby. We'll go back and see that one as well real quick here. See exactly how Jake was able to do it. He does it. Does he do it into the bus stop? He does. Great move there by Jake.
Just fantastic late breaking into the bus stop. But let's see if we can take a look at how Bobby Ross ended up going off track there. Maybe ended up making a mistake. He's still only 2/10 behind Jake Ham, but coming to the bus stop after Ham was able to make a move on him. Looks like he hits the DRS board there for the open wheel cars. Looks like tries to make a move down the inside.
I bet you it was that hitting that DRS is probably what triggered that off track there for Bobby.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if he just maybe swung a bit too wide there and it gave him an off-track point.
Got
but
another
Josh
crash?
Boggs still leads this race by 6/10 over Kerry Cantera as we take a look at Jaden Darling back here in his Beamer. Comes through the bus stop. Oh, it looks like the car in front of him. The 407, that's Tyler Coates. Swings it way wide in the bus stop, and they went side by side down the front straightaway. Jaden Darling is able to get the spot after that slight mistake. And like we were talking about with mistakes, with this track, there's not much runoff area pretty much anywhere. So if you make a mistake, it's hard to recover. Kevin Irwin does the same thing as, I believe that was James Keir that did it earlier. Just outbreaks himself going into the bus stop. But up front, Paul Mikolajczyk, currently 2/10 behind Eric Whitner, trying to make a move as they come down this short straightaway.
You know what?
They're gonna be quite close to each other. Paul Mikolajczyk just got a bad exit there. He's falling behind a little as they come through Blanchimont.
Alex, I believe that car looks a wee bit familiar. If you look in front of that red Elmo car, I see a black and white Ferrari up there that kind of reminds me of one of the vehicles you were running when you won there in our Next Gen series.
Yep, and I gotta be honest here, this is my true Initial D fanboy coming out of me. It's probably one of my favorite shows of all time. And with that, I'm probably rooting for Eric Whitner in this race because I love that car. I love it when people make paints about that car. And yes, I have ran that car on schemes that I have used and have won races in. But taking a look back at the racing action, Bobby Ross got back around Jake Ham there, but Jake Ham a great run through Erosion Radion there. He's able to pull right up to the back bumper of Ross, swings wide. Going to be a braking contest as they come down into turn 5, I believe that is. Looks like Jake Ham, he's able to keep the nose out through turn 5, and he's able to clear Bobby Ross down through turn 6. But back towards the battle for the lead, Kerry Cantera has cut that gap down from 6/10 to only about 3/10 as they go into. That's Ravage. That's what that corner is, Ravage. But through No Name Corner and down this short stretch of straightaway, still under 4/10 a gap between these two lead cars. Kerry Cantera doing a great job keeping up with one of the fastest guys in this series.
I don't know if you just looked at the bottom of the screen there, but from the time Paul Mikolajczyk entered the pits to the time he left and crossed the white line on exit, was 74.7 seconds. Almost a minute and a half sitting in the pits. Now, I don't know if that's because he took 4 tires. I still think that is a long time, even for taking 4 tires. So we'll have to see exactly how long these pit stops are, because they are going to have to make them. That's could really factor into this race.
Yeah, and I'm honestly not sure if that was a strategy call. I'm not sure what the deal was with that. The only thing that I can really think of that would have caused Paul to sit for that long in the pits is if he might have gotten a penalty. We might have not noticed it, but he could have potentially jumped the start and ended up getting a penalty from that. But still, a minute and a half just seems like an absurdly long time.
Well, I think Paul had a
Comes into the
big,
pits.
big, big blink there. It said he crashed, actually, in the overlay, so that may have been a connection issue and having to come in, but I don't see really any damage on his Ferrari to speak of.
There's no damage to his car. I still can't think of why he would have had to pit. But he's could have been a strategy
Well,
call, takes 4 tires, and it pulls back out onto the racetrack.
look at what
As
we
well,
have.
we missed a pass for the lead. Kerry Cantera steals it from Josh Clogg 4 laps into this race. I believe that might have been in the turn 1 hairpin. Let's see if we can get a replay on that. But Josh Clogg doing a great job fighting back and keeping up, as yes, it was into the turn 1 hairpin. Looks like Kerry might have gotten a good run out of the bus stop, and Clogg just resents the position going into turn number 1. And Kerry Cantera is now your leader of this race through Rivage. Kerry Cantera still trying to manage that gap. Josh Clogg not falling too far back, still gets a great run through No Name there. And he's able to cut that gap down to under 0.3 of a second. So Josh Clogg is not out of this race just yet.
Yeah, and take a look at that other Lamborghini back there that's just been sitting in the shadows of Jake Ham, starting to actually make some moves and make some time. He is gapping Bobby Ross pretty quickly, actually. So I think these Lamborghinis on a longer run may just be a little bit better. But as I say that, Josh Clogg, you wonder if this Porsche through the corners is just keeping up with these Lambos. They just have the straight line speed.
Yeah, and actually, if we take another look towards the back of the field, James Howitt has come into the pits and he's still been sitting there for around 100 seconds. That's about a minute and 40 seconds. Can't think of any reason why he has to be sitting in the pits for that long. Again, he comes into the pits, no damage to his car, slides it a little bit there. Comes into the pits, doesn't hit anything.
He is now back out on track.
Or that's Jimmy Howitt, excuse me. I just can't think of why he would have to sit in the pits for that long.
I mean, him and Paul were both in the pits for quite a long time. So wonder if it's a 4-tire change and fill her up with fuel, and that's how long that takes. But they're not doing any driver changes or anything like that tonight, so that is really impressive on how long that's taken these guys.
Yeah, and with Paul's pit stop taking a little bit less amount of time, I think that they're just trying to undercut the entire field. They realize that they're pretty far back, so they're just trying to undercut the field. James Howitt knows he's pretty far back from the leaders, so he takes 4 tires to try and have some fresh rubber at the end of this race. But Kerry Cantera has pulled a 1.3-second gap on Josh Clogg, and I think Clogg made a mistake because Jake Ham has pulled right up to the back bumper of that Porsche.
Well, I mean, this is what was happening with Clogg. He was just slowly falling off the back bumper of Cantera, and looking at the gap between Ham and Ross now, it just looks like these Lamborghinis are superior on this track with a longer tire run.
Yeah, and we've definitely seen some differences in the GT3 cars over the course of long runs at different tracks throughout the course of these races. So I think you're exactly right about that. It's just either Clogg made a mistake there, or the Lambos are just able to be better.
We're about to
Uh,
see how long this pit stop takes, by the way, into and out of. We've got here. He's sitting at 66 seconds in the pit lane at the moment. Still hasn't left. 71 now. I mean, this is a long stop. He may actually be done.
Yeah, I don't I honestly can't even think about it, but two cars that also had really long stops were able to pull back out onto the racing surface, but back up towards the lead. Josh Klog has bit into the gap that he had severely, knocks it down by
Whoa.
almost 5 tenths as they come into the bus stop. Jake Ham really late on the brakes there. I can't help but think he might have just outbroke himself a little bit. He's able to keep it out of Josh Clog and just keep it nicely going through the bus stop. But how do you think that these two? Because you got to think Jake Ham and Josh Clog, they even if 1 second is not a lot of time, but they still have to put in a lot of work to cut down that gap to try and get in range to make a move on Kerry Cantera. So we've seen how fast Jake Ham is early in this race. Do you think that if they can get near each other without losing much time on Cantera, do you think they might even try and push each other down straights like the Camel Straight to try and make up more time as we see them weaving down the Camel Straight? Your carry was to try and break that draft.
Yeah, that may be an option, but I believe that's only an option if Ham can catch up to Clog. I don't think Clog's going to fall back uh into Ham. Ham's going to have to get up to Clog, but when I say that, Clog just seems like that Porsche for some reason is just so much better through the corners, and then you get to the straightaways and Cantera just gets a crazy good exit out of corners. I mean, and he's gone. So you can see this interval dropping, and then you get to the straights, and it just starts to get back up again. So these three, this is I really don't know what to think exactly here, but we do have, while we have a moment, looks like we have an off track from Jimmy Howitt. See exactly what happened to him, and that's what happened to
Oh,
Jimmy.
he's into the barriers.
That,
For Revanche, looks like he just understeered on exit. We talked about that being a mistake that you can easily make here at this track. Just understeers through Revanche, gets onto the grass, and just spins it straight back across the track, trying to save that race car. So, unfortunate for him, but back up towards the front through Blanchimont. We definitely have a race for the lead here, and Josh Clog, you have to think he
whoa.
might be able to pull an outbreak maneuver really wide there. It's going to get him to the inside of Kerry Cantera as they both break side by side into the bus stop. Josh Clog keeps it on the inside. Cantera can't make a move back, and just like that, 16 minutes into this race, and Josh Clog, has retaken the lead.
Yeah, he has, and I don't think Cantera's quite done yet. We'll have to see how this Lambo can do. They do have a TCR coming up, and we did mention I don't think they're going to catch him. That looks like it's Kevin Irwin. I don't think they're going to catch him through Eau Rouge and Radeon, but that could cause some serious issues if they ever did. We're going to see where Irwin is. He's already through Radeon. They are good to go. They will catch and pass him down the Kimmel Straight. But with that being said, you do have to wonder what this is going to do. Is Cantera's going to maybe look for a move down the end? Nah, thought about it, decided to stay in line. I really don't know. These two up front, including Jake Ham, are all extremely quick. I mean, I'm still looking back there at Jake Ham. He's not letting that gap get too big, and they have totally lost Bobby Ross.
Yeah, and it's just currently a 3-horse race for this lead here. You've got two bulls chasing a Porsche. So, I don't even, I think Bobby Ross, I mean, if he can pull off some really fast laps and get a nice strategy going for himself, he might be able to pull the gap. But I don't know how he could do that without just getting into a spot where he might just wreck his car from overdriving it. So if I'm Bobby Ross, I think I'm just gonna just set my car to just I can't think of the words to say right now. I'd probably just throw my car into cruise and just try and ride around here for maybe just a little bit during this race, try and pull off a nice strategy call and try and put myself back in contention for the win. But just as we say, it's a 3-horse race for the lead. Josh Clog, he passes Kerry Cantera and pulls a second gap. By the time they get back to the bus stop, just one lap ago, they were racing for the lead. Now, Jake Ham, they're racing for second as they go into the bus stop. Kerry Cantera relents the position. Jake Ham takes second away as both of those Lambos come into the pits. And I think that Kerry Cantera let Ham by because he was pitting, not knowing that Jake Ham was also going to pull into the pits. So, just under 19 minutes into this race, and people are already starting to pull off the strategy game. Bobby Ross pulls into the pit lane as well as Eric Winter and Jaden Darling.
I do need to correct you. It's Eric Whitner, not Eric Winter. The reason I'm correcting you is because I was yelled at by Eric for calling him Winter about 3 races in a row. But with that being said, so these are better pit stops. You can see these are going to be, as Jake Ham's going to cross that white line, about 43 seconds. So that is much better than what we were seeing with Paul Mikolajczyk and whoever else went into the pits early. That was just way too long.
Yeah, and I just think that means that Paul Mikolajczyk might have got a bit of damage that we couldn't tell he had, maybe a bit of undercarriage damage that we couldn't see, and just had to go into the pits to fix that. But Jake Ham pulls out of the pits with almost a second gap on Kerry Cantera down the Kemmel Straight and into turn 5. So, I would probably say a much better pit sequence for the 85 compared to the 33. And as we take a look at Jaden Darling, 3/10 behind Eric Whitner. I said that correctly this time.
Yes.
And this is going to be a battle for the top 5 here between these two cars.
And Darling is kind of been sleeping on us a little bit, I think. He's been sitting back here, and he's actually starting to show a little bit of pace now all of a sudden. We'll see exactly what he can do here on Whitner. Whitner goes way wide going through Rivage, but he's able to hold on to that. We'll see what that Beamer can do on that Ferrari. Well, I think this is going to be a battle of straight line speed, and let me tell you what, I think the Beamer's got him beat.
Yeah, these Beamers, they've always been really favored GT3 picks when it comes to just iRacing in general. People love riding around racetracks in these cars, but in the Cross Touring Cup, you only see one of them driven by Jaden Darling in the number 81. And I just can't help but think that when people were thinking about the tracks on the schedule, they realized that maybe the strengths that the BMW offers just doesn't carry over to some of these tracks. Maybe it has a bit more speed through like sharp corners. And if you look at the calendar, you look at all the races on the schedule, you don't have many tracks that have a lot of sharp corners. So it might just have to come. So the car choice that we see is Josh Clogg has come into the pits. Might just be a matter of what people think, what car would suit what tracks. But Josh Clogg, a bad pit stop for him. Kerry Cantera and Jake Ham, they both pull out of the pits in front of him. So now this is a real race towards the end. It's going to be a race to see who pulled off the better strategy and who can just set down some consistent lap times. We saw how Josh Clogg was able to pass Kerry Cantera and get around Jake Ham once Ham had gotten around him the first time. But if we were looking at the gaps between Jake Ham and Josh Clogg, if you looked at the interval between the two, you realize that it wasn't really closing by the time they had come into the pits.
Yeah, no, that's going to be interesting to see what Clogg can do to get back up there. But we are watching maybe a move from Jaden Darling around the outside here of Eric Whitner going into Lake Home. Not able to make it happen there.
Yeah, and Eric Whitner maintains the 5th spot, but Jaden Darling doing a great job keeping up with that Ferrari. So we take a look at Jerry DiPiero battling with Chad Seep for 11th overall, P3 in class. I would reckon that this would be a very hard-fought battle between these two, as it would be for the last spot on the podium for the TCR class. As we pull up the track map and compare the fastest times between these two cars. If you look at that time, that's about I want to say it's a 15-second difference. Might be a little bit less, but I believe that is a 15-second difference between a GT3 and a TCR lap around Spa. So, like we were saying earlier in this race, you gotta think if a GT3, especially now that they're catching up to some of these TCR cars, you got to think what's going to happen if a GT3 car catches up to a TCR in a spot where they can't make a move on them.
That's going to cause an absolute pile up, if I'm being honest with you, because when you've got guys racing, like if we go back to the front here, and we see Jake Ham, Kerry Cantera, and Josh Clogg up here at the front battling, if they catch them in a spot that is fast and you can't pass, someone's going to have to get on the brakes because that TCR car can only do so much to get out of the way. And let me tell you what, I hope it doesn't happen. But as you can see some of these gaps forming, it could, and that could absolutely change the outcome of this race come the end of it.
Yeah, and if you look at some of those spots on this racetrack, because we have battles going on throughout the field right now. Excuse that voice crack. We don't talk about it. If you look at some of these places throughout the racetrack, if you look at turns 13, 14, and 14, can't really make a move through there. Maybe through Puon, turn 12. Then definitely through Eau-Rouge and Radion. Can't really make a move at all there without getting in some sort of incident.
So we do have first place.
Really conservative there.
Look, watch out. You can see that first place car, Jake Ham, flashing his lights. There's not really much that these TCRs can do at this moment through these corners. They cannot get out of the way through Puon. This is going to hurt Jake Ham, and he's going to try to force his way down the inside and try to get around him before they reach turn 13, and he's able to do it barely. But now look out, because now again these TCRs cannot get out of the way. They're still battling, and they're about to go through a corner that is really going to hurt these two behind them, as they're not going to be able to get out of the way. These GT3s are going to have to slow down a little bit. You can see Jerry there and Kerry, or I apologize, and Chad try to do what they can around the outside. Jerry's going to hold it on the outside. GT3s down the inside on the exit of Stavelo. But man, that is just not what you mentioned it. I mean, look at the gaps now. You've got Clogg and Cantera battling, but that's just pulled out almost a 3-second gap on the leader of Jake Ham.
And I gotta take a quick break in the action here to just say, after you saying Stavelo,
hang on 1 second. Remember what we were talking about?
Ooh, Jake Ham outbrakes himself, almost follows Robert Schwenkler, misses that corner. That's really going to hurt him and probably break his concentration, and definitely give a bit of time to Kerry Cantera and Josh Clogg, as we see Jerry DiPiero in the pits. But still a 2-second gap. If Jake Ham can just sit here and manage that gap, I think he's definitely got a great shot towards the end of this race. But we were talking about GT3s getting stuck behind TCRs through Eau-Rouge and Radion. I think it just happened between Josh Clogg and Robert Schwenkler there that time.
Yeah, we're going to see exactly what happened here. We're going to catch him on turn 1 through La Source. You're going to see Kerry get through, but watch where Josh catches Robert here. And this is just no good for either car. Josh has to get on the brakes. Just really can't do anything about that. That is extremely unfortunate for Josh. But I mean, if you're in Robert Schwenkler's shoes, you're probably getting yelled at, but you're like, hey man, I got a race to run too.
Yeah, and it's also a sense of where Robert Schwenkler couldn't really have done anything different. There, Eau-Rouge and Radion really tight set of 3 corners there. Not much you can do there to let people by. But real quick, while we have a break in the action again, after hearing you say Stavelo, I need to apologize to everybody that ever sees this for me saying Stavelot earlier in the stream. All right, I completely apologize. That was my mistake, and I need to really improve my dialect when it comes to foreign languages. So I do apologize. It is Stavelo, it is Stavelo, not Stavelot. All right, let's just putting that out there.
That sounds like a supply chain or a department store that I used to go to quite a bit when I lived in Indiana. We had Save-A-Lots there. So Save-Lot is actually pretty close to Save-A-Lot. So thank you for bringing me back to my childhood roots there, Alex.
No problem, anytime. But back towards the race, Jake Ham still a 2-second gap, but further back in the field, Eric Whitner and Jaden Darling still neck and neck when it comes to battling for that 5th place spot, as we see Eduardo Pecorini, the leader in the TCR class, pulls into the pits. Robert Schwenkler and Chad Seep do the same, as we see them pulling into their stalls back there. Eduardo Pecorini gets out at just about the time as they get in. Eduardo Pecorini gonna easily manage the lead as he pulls out of the pits to come back down that little short chute and back into Oroge Radion. But back up towards the lead, it's these 3 leaders are still separated by only around 4 seconds. So it's still a very close race, even with Bobby Ross back there as well, just coming through turns 5, 6, and 7. Through Ravage, just Kerry Cantera trying to do as much as he can. Doesn't make up any time that corner, but Josh Clogg definitely makes up a bit of time on second. Cuts down that gap to under a second. But back there, judging off the intervals, I think Jaden Darling might have just tried to make a move on Eric Whitner, as they are really close together, but Jerry DiPiero absolutely throws it through Radion, probably getting an off track and maybe a slowdown in the process, but on the back bumper of Chad Steep, but we've got, and it's a crash down the Kemmel Straight. Jerry DiPiero turns Chad Seep. We're going to have to take a look at the replay. I'm not sure whose fault that was, but oh my god. Down the Kemmel Straight, Jerry DiPiero made a move to the right side, came straight back up the track just ever so slightly, tags the right rear quarter panel of Chad Seep, turns him straight into the Armco. Very unfortunate. You see DiPiero pulls to the right side, just barely comes back up the track, blinks a little there actually, and turns Chad Seep straight into the guardrail. Very unfortunate for Seep, who's having a fantastic race.
You can see
Jerry. Now I want to say it.
Yeah, definitely knew he was at fault there. Gave the position back to Chad Seep. That is not something that you see Jerry DiPiero do often, if at all. Just made a mistake, and you and I all know that Jerry is not a type of driver to do that with malintent. So good on Jerry to give Chad Seep the position back. Just hope Chad doesn't have too much damage. You can kind of see his bumper cover separated there from the hood just a little bit, but excuse me, doesn't look like it's all that bad.
Yeah, Jaden, and just unfortunate for these 2 drivers. They were having a great race, but back up towards the GT3 field, see Jaden Darling still managing that gap at around half a second while we were covering the incident between Chad Seep and Jerry DiPiero. It looks like these 2 were battling for a bit there, as we see him coming into turn 5 here. Jaden Darling gets it around the outside, side by side through 5, but Eric Whitner is able to maintain the position through turn 6 and 7 and into Ravage turn 8. And actually, Paul Mikolajczyk, a bunch of left front damage. He comes into the bus stop. He pulls into the pits to fix that. Wonder what happened to him there. He pulls to the bus stop this time. It's like he's just fine. Comes down the front straightaway at like any normal lap. And goes past the start-finish line there, breaks into turn 1. Again, nothing out of the ordinary. He's just riding along, just minding his business, just chilling back there in 8th place, trying to finish the race out.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what gave him that damage.
That's weird to say the least, but anyways, couldn't find it. Moving on. Looks like Josh Clogg in that time has found his way as well around Kerry Cantera. Show you exactly how that happened. Looks like Kerry just let him go.
Yeah, might have just gotten a bad run through turn 12, realized that Clogg is faster, and just says, you know what? Go ahead, I'm only holding you up. So now it's really turned into a race between Jake Ham and Josh Clogg. Because we're going to have to see if Josh Klog can just set down some really quick lap times to try and catch up to that Lamborghini leading the race. As if we look at the gaps again on the interval board, Jaden Darling has lost around a second. Derek Whitner, he might have outbroke himself into the bus stop. Seen a very common mistake there. And I want to look back at Paul's damage again. We saw it. Was it the right front or the left front? I believe it was the right front. But yeah, it looks like the right side of his car primarily.
That's
And
left. Looks like left side damage.
that's the left side. Excuse me. And I want to say, honestly, this is probably just me blatantly guessing here. So let's see if we can rewind a little and see where he got that from. I wanted to make a bit of a guess at it, but honestly, I just can't think of where he would have received that damage.
Oh, there we go. Through Puan.
Oh, through Puan,
Whoa.
out of turn 12, hits the curb, just gets loose and straight into the guardrail. Very common mistake. Looks like he might have just put a little bit too much steering input into the car, maybe a little bit too hard on the throttle. Spins it straight into the Armco, but luckily he's able to pick the car back up and bring it back to the pit lane for repairs. So we look at Kerry Cantera. He's been consistent all race through No Name under the Vodafone bridge.
Just a few off tracks we're looking at to see if anything was as. Oh my goodness. That was a very close moment there for Josh Klog.
Yeah, he does a great job of bringing it back onto the racetrack. And but he definitely lost a great amount of time to Jake Ham leading this race. But back towards the TCR class.
Hang on. I had a feeling this was going to happen. These GT3s needed one more stop. And here it is. So,
Actually,
keep in mind on maybe Josh trying to save as much fuel as possible to do this on one stop. It's going to be very, very tight. But we'll see exactly what Jake Ham and Josh Klog and Kerry Cantera. If Kerry can get a good pit stop here, this could be big.
yeah, and sitting in that pit stall allows your tires to cool down, so you get some nice, not as warm tires for a lap, maybe able to make up some time on those. But Jake Ham, still your leader of this race, but back towards the TCR field as Eric Whitner is coming to the pits, letting Jaden Darling by, excuse me. Back towards the TCR field, Jared DiPiero has cut the gap between himself and Chad Deep down to just under 0.6 of a second. He's going to get a nice run through here and gets it under 0.3 as they come down through, I want to say that's turn 16, excuse me. They're going to come through they're going to come into turn 17 Blanchimont. Jared DiPiero, he might get enough of a run using the draft here to make a move as they come into the bus stop, turns 19 and 20. Currently just under 0.3 back. Looks like he probably won't be able to make the move this time, just too far away. Looks like he got a little bit unsettled there breaking into turn 19, but he's able to keep the car under control and gets a pretty good drive off to start making up some time on exit. Cuts it to under 0.5 of a second as Paul Mikolajczyk with I believe that's some fast repair usage right there.
Oh,
He's
absolutely.
able to get around them. Chad Seep dives it very deep in the corner, almost hits Paul. And that's going to really help Jerry DiPiero in his effort to try and get into P3 for the TCR class. The gap 0.3 of a second through Erosion Radion. Now under that, as they come up through Radion, Jerry DiPiero is going to get a nice draft down the Camel Straight. I think this is it. I think Jerry DiPiero, he's learned from his mistakes, and this is going to be where he can make his move. He pushes Chad Seep down the Camel Straight, doesn't try to make a move on him. I can't help but wonder what he was doing there as Bobby Ross and Jake Ham pull into the pits, but Josh Klog stays out again.
So here's what I wanted to mention. With that mistake that Jerry made trying to make the move there on Chad Seep, I think at this point Jerry has just become Chad Seep's best friend. as a drafting partner and trying to get Chad up there into the clutches of Rob Schwenkler, which really isn't going to happen. The only way they're able to do this at this moment is to be able to maybe bump draft and not have to stop when Rob will have to stop one more time. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly what they can do, but I don't see Jerry getting around Chad Seep at this moment. I know Jerry thinks Chad deserves the win for that incident, so I would just expect a whole lot of bump drafting going on between those two vehicles.
Yeah, and back up towards the overall lead. Josh Clock, 20-second gap, hasn't pit yet. Jake Ham, currently 20 seconds back. Kerry Cantera, 6 seconds behind him in third. And now this is where I want to go back to something you were saying earlier about Josh Clogg trying to save fuel here. It's a 45-minute race. We expected the GT3s to only have to pit once, or at least I did, but they can't make it on one stop. But with just 5 minutes remaining in this race, or just under 5 minutes, or just over 5 minutes remaining in this race, excuse me, I gotta wonder, is Josh Clogg trying to save fuel here? Maybe lifting a bit before the corner, trying to save a little bit extra fuel by being off the throttle for just that much less amount of time. And if he can save enough
He's
fuel,
not.
actually no, forget all of what I just said. Josh comes into the pits right now, and now we have to see Jake Ham through turn 18 under the Bridgestone banner, breaking into the bus stop. How much fuel can Josh Clogg take to try and get out in front of Jake Ham? You can see he's stopped in his pit stall. Jake Ham currently breaking into the turn 1 hairpin. Now Josh Clogg has come out of the pits, but I think it's too little too late. I think Jake Ham might have him. It's going to be tight, but yes, he does. Jake Ham still has the lead, but Josh Clogg, a great pit stop from him, probably took a little less fuel and down the Kemmel Straight and even through some of these corners. If Josh Clogg took less fuel, how is that going to affect him as he comes to try and catch up to Jake Ham with just 4 minutes remaining in this race?
Yeah, it's going to be this has just turned into a mathematical battle between these two to try to figure out what they need to get to the end of the race. So we're going to probably see Josh maybe thinking that he put less fuel in his car, thinking he'd be able to get out ahead of Jake Ham. Clearly, that's not the thing now. So now we're about to see if Josh is going to go into fuel-saving mode or push mode and hope he can make it to the end of the race and not gift Kerry Cantera that second-place position overall and in class. So keep an eye on this interval here. Right now, it's about 1.1. You can see that gap. I think Josh is pushing. I don't expect Josh to be letting off here. I think he's going to try to go for the win.
Yeah, definitely. If I'm Josh Clogg and I just pitted there, I definitely believe that I've calculated my fuel and I know that I can make it to the end of this race. But even with less fuel compared to Jake Ham, even if they took the same amount of fuel, we've seen Josh Clogg able to put faster laps in under pressure, and it's really going to become a race of wits. It's going to come down to who can set down the fastest last 1 or 2 laps here in this race to try and end up winning the overall spot, not just for GT3s, but between every car on this racetrack, as Josh Clogg gets the gap under 1 second as they break into the bus stop. It looks like he loses a bit of time on exit of 19 there, but still gets a decent run through 20. Still the gap just over 1 second, as that is in fact the white flag. This is the last lap of the race. Josh Clogg's last opportunity. He gets a great run through turn 1. Jake Ham tries to break the draft. Looks like he pulls it just far enough to the inside to try and get rid of that slipstream. But through Eau-Rouge and Radion, down the Kemmel Straight, this slipstream might bring them right together.
I hate to say this. Don't look now, because look at what Bobby Ross has just done. He's just come into the pits. It looks like he's going to be able to get out in front of Jaden Darling there, still in front. But back here, we're going to stay on this battle.
Yeah, Jake Ham able to maintain the lead through turns 5, 6, and 7. Josh Clogg almost gets to the outside of Jake Ham there, down through the short chute and into Ravage. Can Josh Clogg make a move? He's too far back, breaking into turn 8, as they're going to come through turn 9, then down through 10.
Watch for this Blanchimont. Watch for Blanchimont. Watch this straightaway into the bus stop. This is going to be Josh Clogg's next move. We'll see if he stays patient enough and can stay close enough to Jake Ham through the rest of this section before they get to that huge back straight into the bus stop.
Yeah, and Josh Clogg just needs to set down the best corners he's ever set in his life to try and win this race. Really consistent through 13 and 14. He's able to manage the gap. Maybe loses a bit of time on the exit of 14, but down into turn 15. Actually, look in front of him. They have two TCRs in front of him. Oh, Josh Clogg into the gravel. That's really going to hurt him as they come down through this back straightaway. But these TCR cars, they have to let the leaders by. Jake Ham, he has to go a bit wide there and flashes his headlights at Chad Seep to let him know that, hey, I'm coming. Get out of my way. I'm trying to win this race. And Chad Seep going to get out of his way. Same thing for Josh Clogg. But Clogg, I don't think he can do anything. Through turns 19 and 20, he can't do anything. Down the front straightaway, Jake Ham, I believe that's his first win on the season at Spa in the Cross Touring Cup. A great job from him today. Josh Clogg ends up second. Kerry Cantera P3. Fantastic from Jake Ham to beat the fastest guys in this series to win this race. Man, I'm happy for him. That's great. That's awesome.
That is a wonderful finish. Great racing between those two up there at the top. It was great racing, actually, between the top three, between Ham, Clogg, and Cantera. It was just Ham that was able to get the battle or get on top of the rest of those guys to make that win happen, as we can see Bobby Ross crossing the line in fourth, with Jaden Darling coming across here in fifth place. We should see Eric Whitner coming through there somewhere, but before we see that, we're going to see Eduardo Pecorini. No, we're not. Who's going to be the next guy to cross the line? Then that's going to be Kevin Irwin. Going to finish 13th overall, 5th in class. Good job for Kevin, able to finish in front of two other guys, one in class, so good job for him. Looking here for Pecorini. Actually, looking here for Eric Whitner, going to be the next one to cross the line there. Through the bus stop he comes, and look at the amount of the damage that on that Ferrari.
Yeah, I wonder if he maybe has spun out a little bit, and that's how Jaden Darling was able to get ahead of him. Still cobbles it back to get P6 overall. P6 in class. Paul Mikolajczyk rounds it out 7th after an astonishing pit stop of 70 seconds. I mean... not trying to make funny of there, just poking a little bit of fun. But Tyler Coates rounds out the top 8. And
wow,
full throttles. Kevin Irwin. Looks like he might have flown out of the track there. Just disappears on us. Just car went to the Shadow Realm, I guess. I mean, Eduardo Pecorini crosses the line to win. Not really much of a surprise at this point. Fantastic drive from him to win another race in the Cross Touring Cup. Robert Schwenkler, a great job from him all race after starting P4, I believe. Gets second overall, P10 in the P10 overall, and second in the TCR class. No one for him to slam into this time, but parks it just after the start-finish line, and we're going to take a look at your fierce result. I said fierce results. We're going to make a note on this day, April 20th, 2022. I said fierce results instead of race results. But with that out of the way, Jake Ham is your winner of round 5 of the Cross Touring Cup, as we see him in the background there. He wins the race for the Indy Autosports team in his number 85 Lamborghini. Josh Clogg, very consistent drive from him today after a few mistakes, cobbles it back to finish P2 for the Fiercely Forward Racing Porsche, just about 8/10 back from our winner in that number 199 car. Gary Cantera, P3 after a great race from him today for the SOG Racing team in his Lamborghini. Bobby Ross for Risa Racing gets P4, ending his streak of victories, but still a great drive from him today in his number 33 Mercedes. Jaden Darling, after a great battle with Eric Whitner for the back half of that race, finishes P5, rounding out the top 5 in his number 81 BMW. Eric Whitner finishes with a bit of front-end damage, getting P10 for his JRB Motorsports Ferrari. And Paul Mikolajczyk with the astonishing 70-second pit stop on lap 2 for his Glenn's Hot Wings number 01 Elmo Ferrari. Does a great, pretty decent job from him today. Probably could have wanted a bit more out of that race, but still a pretty consistent drive from him to finish 7th overall. And Tyler Coates finishes P8 for his number 407 Mercedes team. And P9, Eduardo Pecorini, no big surprise for his number 47 Hyundai. He's able to get another win in the XTC. And just really, I don't think anything can stop him at this point. Fantastic drive from him today. Robert Schwenkler ends at P2 in the number 235 Dangerous Motorsports Hyundai. Chad Seep, after contact with Jerry DiPiero and a terrible crash down the Kemmel Straight for the SOG Racing Team Hyundai in his number 73 car, P3 for TCR class, 11th overall. Jerry DiPiero cobbles it back after contact with Chad Seep, P4 in the TCR class, and 12th overall. Kevin Irwin, pretty consistent drive from him today. He did a nice job all race of just keeping the nose of that car clean. Ends up 13th overall, P5 in class. Jimmy Howitt, 14th overall, last in his class. I'm not exactly sure what happened to him, but looks like he ended up 13 laps down. Just not the day he wanted. Same thing for James Keir, rounding out the field in 15th place. But with that being said, let's get to some drive interviews, shall we?
Yeah, and I'm going to actually try to get at least one of these if I can. We're going to see how this goes, but I'm going to bring in Jake Ham here first, and we'll see if I can get through this without coughing up a lung. But Jake Ham, congratulations, my man.
Thank you. This is dedicated to birthday boy Adam.
Adam, you didn't tell me it was your birthday, man. Happy birthday!
Well, I'm trying to keep that one as secret because it's my 30th birthday. So there's
that's fine.
I'm over the top now. It's all downhill from here. Am I right, Jake?
Yeah, yes, it is. Yep. Once you get to 37, it's a crapshoot.
But anyways, Jake, thank you for the shout out. But
yeah,
let's go through the race here. Pretty interesting start. Figured Josh Clogg was going to have some pace, and he did. But after those pit stops, man, that was incredible pit stops by you and Kerry. And Josh just wasn't able to claw it back, but he got close.
Yeah, got super nervous there because he went an extra lap, I think, on the first pit, a lap or two. And I'm like, oh, no, is he going to be able to do this within a couple of stops and, be able to miss a pit, compared to Kerry and I. And Kerry and I did pretty good when we were making entrance into the pits. I think what we did maybe a little bit better than Clogg was we had a chance to, I drove it right to the line and just barely skated by without a speeding penalty. So I know that can gain a couple seconds there. So I think that helped a lot.
Yeah, well, it's, it did, obviously, as you come home in first. As you were racing today, we were kind of talking when we were up here in the booth, talking about where you were going to catch these TCRs, and we saw about a 15-second disparity between the GT3s and the TCRs, and there were some spots on track that looked to get pretty sketchy if you caught them in the wrong place. So kind of talk us through that and what kind of the mindset was there. So let's mention Eau Rouge and Radeon as one spot.
Wherever that is wherever that is. Not a clue.
The uphill, the very fast uphill right-left corner.
Oh, yeah. I tried to time it. Yeah, if I was catching anybody there, I always tried to catch it to where I would get them on the straight a little bit. And that's normally where I got most of my draft. And then a couple other spots. I think I even crossed up Robert Schwenkler there at the very end, the last couple turns. And I know I sent it past him, and thank God he was kind of patient with me and didn't turn in on me. But in that close of racing, you can't wait. And I think Clog got caught up in waiting for a couple TCRs to go around a couple turns that caused me to, stay out front a little bit longer.
Yeah, absolutely, he did. But nonetheless, Jake, you got the win, man. Anybody you want to thank, anybody you want to shout out for making this happen for you?
Yeah. Thanks to my sponsor, MBH Moto, for the awesome retro cool paint scheme that everybody loves. All my fans, obviously, that are watching. Shout out to Adam for turning 30-30. And then thanks to everybody that came out and raced. It was a fun night.
Yeah, it absolutely was. Got a good turnout tonight, Jake. Well, thank you for outing me here in the stream and something that I was trying to keep quiet. And I hope you have a great rest of the night, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, guys.
That was Jake Ham there in first position overall and first in class. The next one it looks like we're going to bring in here is Eduardo Pecorini there first in the TCRs. And I'll go ahead and bring him in here for you, Alex.
Well, Eduardo Pecorini, another flawless victory for you in the Cross Touring Cup. How's it feel to be back up here again?
I'm really happy. Everything went okay. I was somewhat nervous. Robert was really fast tonight. I got lucky. He had a problem at the start, and Spa is not really a track that I like or that I'm good at. So I was lucky.
Yeah, and even with the luck, you were definitely still able to end up with the victory in a great performance from you tonight. But going back to Robert's mistakes at the start, do you think if he didn't maybe make those mistakes, if he was able to get a nice start and keep up with you through that first lap, do you think he would have been able to make a run at you and try and take that lead away throughout the course of this race?
Yeah, for sure. This track has really long straights, so the draft in these cars is substantial. So if you are a little bit slower than the guy ahead, the draft makes you keep up, and then you can study the other driver line, and you then become faster than the guy ahead. So that's why I say I'm lucky he had a problem at the start.
Yeah, and still, even with that, you were able to end up with the victory. Anybody else you want to thank for being able to get up here yet again in the Cross Touring Cup?
Yeah, always you guys for the transmission and the organization. Raisa for everything, and everyone that's keeping up with the league.
Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, that's all I got at him, unless you have something for him. But other than that, it's
Thank
fun
you,
talking.
Alex.
Have a good one.
Thank you, Alex. See you next time.
Yep, see you next time.
Bye.
That was Eduardo Pecorini there, first in class and ninth overall tonight. The next one we're going to bring in here is Kerry Cantera. Alex, I'm going to let you have this one as well if you're up for it. Third in class and third overall.
Hello, Kerry.
Hello.
Third overall, I believe you got pole there as well. A great day for you today at Spa. How's it feel? I mean, you got a great start there. You're able to maintain the lead, get a pass on Josh Clog, and you're able to stay up there for a bit, but unfortunately, it looks like a couple minor errors and pits ended up with you getting in P3. Still, a great showing from you today. How'd you get it done?
This is an interesting track, right? So, and you have some fast drivers in front of you. So, I knew if I could stay with Jaws for a while, it'd be great just to hang on with that. But Jake was fighting Bobby quite a bit, which was helping my situation. But as soon as Jake and I got in kind of a, I wouldn't even say a kerfuffle or something like that. We started. It was.
Oh, you got
Cut.
it. You got it. Here, you want me to give you some time to think here?
No, sorry, I got cut off there.
Oh.
Was slowing down behind Josh there, and then Jake going past Bobby was able to get a lot of momentum. I tried to undercut Jake because I knew what he's doing, but he pitted the same time I did. That kind of screwed up my pit strategy there. But nevertheless, I made a few mistakes, got way back. I just tried to hold on.
Yeah, and you're able to hold on really well, able to get a spot on the podium at the end of the day.
I'll take it.
But yeah, definitely. And with that pole position and a good run ending up P3 overall, how do you think this momentum will carry you into the next race of the season for the Cross Touring Cup?
I like Road America.
All right.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all we need to know.
Yeah, I like Road America. Let's see what happens there.
Yeah, I mean, it's always good when you get a nice finish at a track and a good showing overall, and then you can get to go into another track that you like. Always good for drivers. I hope it's good for you, man.
Thank you very much.
I don't want a commentator's curse you 2 weeks early, but I'm gonna be rooting for you next. I'm gonna be rooting for you next race.
Wow.
I want to see what you can do at one of your tracks that you say you like here. So
I do like it. I'll do my best.
I hope to not comment. I hope to not commentators curse you 2 weeks in advance, man. But a great job from you tonight. Anybody you want to thank for this?
No, just everybody. Oh, but I do want to say a belated happy birthday to Mr. Adam.
Let's go! Happy birthday,
Let's go!
Adam.
And I hope you're feeling better, my friend.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it wasn't too much tequila last night.
No, I promise you it wasn't that. It was too much tequila over the weekend for my bachelor party.
There you go.
But,
attaboy.
but-
Even better. Congratulations.
yeah, thank you, Carrie. But yeah, thank you for everybody coming in here and shouting out my birthday so far.
Oh,
but,
wonderful.
Yeah, Carrie, thank you so much, man. And we hope to
Right
talk
on.
to you in a couple weeks' time.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
That was Carrie Cantera there in third place in the GT3 class, third overall. We do have Robert Schwenkler coming in next. I'll try to choke my way through this one if I can. Rob, congratulations on your second place. Heard a little bit from Eduardo there when we had him interviewing, saying you had a bit of an issue at the start, but Eduardo was saying you were actually worrying him tonight a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know what happened at the start, man. I completely bogged it, and everybody went flying by. And then I got back on the tail end of people and got a significant slowdown at the top of the hill in Radeon and had to basically park it and let everyone drive by. So the rest of the race was just trying to recover again. It seems to be the story of the season for me.
So I brought this up to the GT3 driver, I believe that was Jake Ham, about when the TCRs and the GT3s came together. It did come pretty fast and furious with about a 15-second disparity between the two classes. But what were your thoughts when you saw these GT3s coming up? Because, man, they just came at you so fast. And where did you not want to see them coming up on you?
Well, the bus stop for sure. That close call with Jake was. I saw him coming, and I was trying to stay wide and give him space, and I think he target fixated on me and forgot his braking marker and just blew it. And I'm just glad that I didn't turn in. So yeah, but that I think there was a tricky spot, and Josh came up on me. I forget where during practice. I want to say, man, I don't remember where it was, but there was another place somewhere else that it was just like all of a sudden he was on my tail, and I had no idea he was there. So yeah, I mean the closing speeds here were nuts, and I was just trying to keep a vigilant eye in the mirror when I heard, the spotter say there's a faster class car coming. I just kept an eye out, trying to make sure I stayed out of the way.
Well, you did a pretty good job at that. Clawed your way back up there into second place in class, 10th overall. But before we let you go, man, anybody you want to thank, anybody you want to shout out, and, you being the admin here of XTC and anybody who's watching these races, if you have a little bit of information for them, maybe get a few more drivers in here.
Yeah, we're looking to fill up spots. I think we're going to expand for next season. And we did some things this year or this season where we were trying to keep a certain number of cars on track and whatnot. We haven't fully decided what we're going to do just yet, but I definitely know we want to grow the field and get some more drivers in here and kind of open it up and let people pick what they want to do. So if anyone's interested that's watching, definitely, I guess you can contact myself or Adam. He can get you in contact with me, and we'll get you into the league. I would like to say a giant happy birthday to Mr. Adam Thompson.
Yes, second person we've gotten.
Dirty 30, so congratulations, sir. Shout out to friends, family watching, girlfriend Frankie for all her support, letting me do this, and all the guys in the league for putting on a good show.
All right. Well, that would. I think that's going to end it with Rob tonight. Thank you, man, for all the shout outs, and congratulations there on your second place. We hope to talk to you again soon. Maybe, hopefully, in first if you can find a way past that fast boy up there.
Yeah, I'm trying to claw my way up there for sure. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
That was Robert Schwenkler there, second place in class, 10th overall. We got one more, Alex, and I'll hand him over to you. It's the other Canadian in the league, Mr. Chad Seep.
All right, Chad Seep, great job from you today, P3 in the TCR class. And great showing from you today overall. We were able to get a nice finish here and a nice start at that. How'd you do it, my man?
Well, I spent a lot of time at the drag strip. No, sometimes it's just luck, but I do use the clutch, and like I've got a hand clutch that I can use, so I'm pretty used to standing starts. They're kind of my favorite. So when I saw that was an accident that was happening, like, oh, nice. So I was happy to get that.
Yeah, and with that being said, I want to talk about your incident between yourself and Jerry DiPiero excuse the voice crack, again, we don't talk about him, but about your incident between yourself and Jerry DiPiero down the Camel Straight. What exactly happened there, and how much did it affect your car in the latter half of that race?
Well, he had a run on me, and so I did the appropriate thing and took a somewhat defensive line, so I went dead center. I'm like, all right, you're going to have to pick a side. So he chose the right side, and I don't know if there was, again, like net code or something, or he just got a little too close, but just as he, encroached on my space, it poked the side of the car and just spun me. So I know Jerry doesn't do things like that intentionally, so it was, we spun out, and I guess he got quite a bit ahead, but then he, did the right thing, which was let me by again, which I really appreciate. My car it felt a little different, but it still had pace. I actually posted a personal best lap during that second half, but I don't know why. It looked like Jerry had the opportunity he had the run on me at least 2 or 3 more times in that same place, and even a better run where I thought he could have had me for sure, but he didn't. So I don't know if he was giving me the pity no pass or whether he just didn't want to take a chance again. But either way, it was fun to have that, somebody to race with, because my fear at this track was that I'd be out on my own just doing laps in the countryside.
Yeah, and you were still able to get a great finish here for yourself. Anybody you want to thank for being able to get this podium for yourself?
Well, I always want to thank my little boy Dario, because he loves hearing his name. I also would like to, wish Adam a happy birthday. I heard it is his.
Thank you, Chad. Thank you
and then
very
a shout out to oh, thanks, Adam. And I can't forget my sponsors. Got to do my sponsors for Slow Old Guy Racing and Carrie and swellpals.com, makers of Clammy Nuts Racing Talc. If you must, give them a dust.
Every time you do it, Chad.
Swellpals.com.
Every time you do it, man. Anyways, continue.
I
I'm sorry.
I got the t-shirt. You can get the Clammy Nuts t-shirt, or you can get the talc itself, if you're a serious racer.
Yeah, I'll take both.
Swellpals.com.
All right.
Well, thanks again, guys, for a great job on all this. It's been fun.
Yeah, no problem, Chad, and thank you for putting together a great race. You had a great battle out there with Jerry today. But with that being said, that was Chad Seep. We hope to talk to you very soon. Maybe I've told Robert the same thing. Somebody needs to catch that fast boy up there in y'all's class and try to take that win away from him.
Need some sort of alien technology.
Well, maybe if you can get that between now and Road Atlanta, Chad, that'd be great to see you up there. But hope to talk to you next time.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
No problem. That was Chad Seep there in 3rd overall, 11th in class. So rounds out the top 3 in each class tonight. Alex, what did you think of the race? I can tell you that it was much better than I expected, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, definitely a great race from everybody here tonight. And like you said, a lot better race than I was expecting. We had great battles all throughout the field. We had the pit strategy, we had the start, we had the chaos, we had the crashes, which is just what I love about racing. Just we get all that packed into one 45-minute racing period. And you know what? I'm going to steer your outro. This has been Slow Motion Broadcasting's coverage of Round 5 of the Cross Touring Cup here at Spa. And I stole your outro specifically because I want my last words to be, happy birthday, Adam. Go enjoy it.